Okay, so I have my canvas set up and I just want to put my colors now. I'm going to have them on my palette and I'm going to move them to this piece of paper so you can see them up close, and we're just going to practice these different strokes, and you're going to do them. They're pretty simple to do. Again, when you're mixing colors, you want to look at my palette knife painting video, or just how to set up your palette, because you want to remember to always have the colors at least 2 inches apart from each other. You want to have your towel ready so you can wipe off your palette knife, okay, so it can be clean. So I'm going to start with my brushes here. I have them soaking in water. I want to wipe them off and make sure that they're dry. But let's just start with the first one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some red. I'm going to put it on the back of my knife here, and I'm going to pull the knife down, and then I'm just going to pick up some more paint and pull it down, pick up some more paint and pull it down, pick up some more paint and pull it down. And I'm going to do it with different colors. Let's try it with the yellow. And I'm picking it up and pulling it down. So I just have this kind of texture where it's very thick. You see how thick that becomes? You actually have these lines. Do you see those lines in between? It's pretty thick. Okay, so practice that first. You'll see. I'm going to put it real close. You can really see that texture. You see how there's like one square, then another square, then another square. And you can kind of do the same with your brush. Make sure that your brush is dry when you pick it up, right? You have no paint on the canvas. And let's try it again. And we're going to put it down, 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 put it down. And we get the same thing with the brush. That's pretty simple. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to pick up 2 different colors. So maybe I'll pick up like a green and some yellow again. And I'm going to put them on the edge of my knife, right? And I'll show you what that looks like. I have a smaller knife. You can use any kind of knife you want. I have them together, green and yellow. And I'm just going to drag it down. So I'm just dragging that green and yellow. And you can try the same with the brush. We'll do it with the brush in a minute. And do it again. And we'll pick up a little bit more green, yellow, and we can drag it down. Okay? What happens, the next step is, you're going to kind of wipe off your knife, and then you're going to dig into what you pull down, and you'll scrape, and you notice that you see some of the green coming through. Okay, so it's just 2 colors that you can put on top, and then when you scrape, you always see the other color underneath, but you have to do it with 2 different colors or it won't work on your knife. So 2 different colors, you're dragging that down, and then when you scrape, you see the other color underneath. It's better if you have a lighter or darker color. If you're doing it, you're going to do it with the brush again, you know, but you're going to make sure that your brush is dry. Your brush definitely has to be dry when you do it. So you can practice the same thing, and if you can scrape it off, if you don't want to scrape it off with the brush, you have to do it with a clean brush, then you'd have to use your palette knife. But you could do the same thing where you have 2 colors, you see drag down, and then you scrape. You're going to get the same effect with the brush and the palette knife doing that, okay? The next thing you can do is you can pick up your color on the edge of the brush. I just dab my brush into the color, and I kind of, if I push down on the canvas, I get 2 colors mixing. And I can do the same again with the palette knife, picking up some greens and some yellows and some reds. And if I push down and lift up, look what happens. Right, and I'm going to move this all over the canvas so you can see, get a better idea of how I get that texture. Okay, and you can put tons of textures on top of that. So say you had a blue sky, you could blend blue, white, and maybe even a purple, right? It doesn't matter, but you want to get that light color there, okay? So those are some things that you want to practice. And then if you have the palette knife, you want to practice putting down a color. Let's do orange. And then you want to drag your knife through the edge of the color. So I put on the edge of my knife some orange here, and I'm just making these lines going across. You know, I can make, and then I can use the side of my knife and I can bring down those lines, right? So you're going to practice that, using the side of the knife, just making these lines and then just dragging them down. You know, you can do a bunch of lines if you want, just a bunch of dots. Okay, and then again with a bunch of little small dots, if we were doing like pointillism, you can just press and it gives you that edge of the knife. So press and release, lift up, doing the edge of the knife, putting two colors down, a light color, then a darker color on top, dragging it through, doing the lines, dragging another color on top. And the last one is, if we had this orange here, we could drag another light color on top. Let's use a yellow because you'll really see it as far as a contrast. So I have some yellow on my knife, and then I'm not going to press hard, and I can just place that yellow right on top of the orange, and I could do the same with the brush. So you can practice these things again, and you should have all of them before you know what you're doing with the palette knife. The last thing that we can do, I'll show you, is I'm going to scrape this off just to show you the effect. So remember we did this press and release? When you kind of scrape what you did, and I have this whole paper and I'm just scraping it, right? All the colors off using the side of the knife. I haven't added any new colors. I kind of get this, right? So you got this buildup of this background. This is a good way also to start a canvas if you wanted to do the background. We had all the colors, and we just kind of scraped it off using the side of the knife. Now, you can't use the brush for this, but it works with the knife. It's nice if I had a background and I wanted to do a monochromatic, different color blues. Maybe I had different color purples, different color pinks, and you can see how transparent it is. You know, one color is basically, you can see some of the yellows coming through the greens and the reds, okay? So that's something you want to practice with the knife. I'll go into other techniques that we can do with the knife, but I'll show you something. Let's look at it one more time. And then you can put color on top of that. So let me go into the next video once you practice these things, and I'll show you how we can start an abstract painting of a flower.